Okay, everybody, welcome to a new episode of Green Vibes Podcast. And today we are here with Lori Nikkel for Second Harvest. I'm gonna do a quick introduction about you, Lori. So Lori, she's a coach, CEO, keynote speaker, advisor on food loss and waste and food security, Canada's most admired CEO, Transformation Leadership 2021. Top 25 Women Influence 2021, Canada's Food Policy Advisory Council. A lot?
It's a bit. There's a lot going
on. Welcome here, Lori. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. I'm pretty sure that we have a very fun conversation today. We have a lot of talk about food waste that unfortunately we have. I'm pretty sure that it's a big problem here in Canada, right? So first of all, just for people that doesn't know, what is second harvest? Just explain. I'm pretty sure that most of Canadians know about that, but give us a brief introduction about what is second harvest.
Absolutely. So Second Harvest, we are Canada's largest food rescue organization. And what that means is we rescue surplus, mostly perishable, healthy food from across the supply chain that would otherwise go to waste. We do this so that we can ensure it doesn't go into landfill where it creates methane gas and is a direct contributor to the climate crisis. And we also then support Canadians that don't have regular access to the healthy food they need. So we do this across the country. Mm-hmm. We have an app that helps support. We also do world-breaking research. We do training and education on food loss and waste and food literacy. We're kind of busy.
Yeah. So where the places that you will go to these foods that you collect? It's groceries, it's big companies.
It's everything. So in Canada, there's about 129,000 food businesses and 61,000 charities and nonprofits that use food. So we're really just trying to connect the two. So it could be from a farm, a manufacturer, a processor, because those are the areas that typically have the largest amounts of food waste. Mm-hmm. But it also is at restaurants, at food service. It is anywhere that people are providing food or producing food or growing food, fisheries, we're there and we're going to grab your surplus.
Perfect. Awesome. And what's the number? What happened now in Canada? We still have a lot of waste.
Oh, yes. Foods? Yes, we do.
Why?
For a number of reasons. We can get into a whole lot of reasons of why it happens in different parts of the supply chain. But what I would advocate for is really simple. We actually don't measure it or monitor it. So if you don't measure and monitor it and provide targets that will meet the UN goal that we're trying to hit of halving food loss and waste by 2030 that we committed to as Canadians in 2015, we don't even know where we're starting at each business level. How are we going to hit that goal? Yeah. So first you want to measure it. But where it happens is your fridge, best before dates. Best before dates mean nothing. They are put on by manufacturers. They are about food quality, not about food safety. That's a big one that individuals can manage.
Let's talk about this for now. Sure. So every foods we have the expiry date, right?
No, you have a best before date.
Best before.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a difference.
Yes, there are only 5 foods that expire in Canada. 5. Want to know what they are?
Which one is?
Okay, so
dairy foods, maybe.
Oh yeah, why don't you guess?
See?
No, that's good. That's good. You're wrong.
No, because I imagine
you're wrong. But guess what?
I'm wrong. Come on. No, I was thinking because it's very short, and they said, "Oh, don't keep outside the fridge. Put on the table. Oh, it's damaged." So
sure,
that's the people that have more concern about dairy foods. That's why
they do, and they have concerns about meat. But when we're talking about expiry,
expiry date.
It's actually about the nutrient quality of a food. So it is baby formula, because what happens after that expiry date, the nutrients degrade a little bit. Okay. And so the baby needs the nutrients. Products like Ensure for seniors, like meal replacements, because seniors need the nutrients. Protein bars and that kind of thing, because if you're running a race and you really need that nutrition, after the expiry date, it's less, and so it can impact your health. The other 2 are by prescription only. Okay. One is for a feeding tube and one is a diet dietary, I don't know, that I don't know because I've never had to get a prescription for it, to be honest. So everything else is a best before date. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't be careful with your food. Like temperature controlled food is really important that you keep it in that temperature.
Yes, exactly.
It just doesn't, if it's in that temperature, and this is unopened for sure, that milk will last a lot longer than at a best before date that's on it. Once you take it out and you've opened it, then it's a whole different matter. And it doesn't last as long for sure.
So every product that we see best before date, it's safe for us to consume after best before date.
Yes, it absolutely is.
And the most of the waste, let's say waste, that we see, it's companies that throw it out those foods because the best before it's close or reach the date.
It's a big problem. I think it's a big problem across the supply chain, but primarily in the home, but across the supply chain. So in fact, no, the biggest places are in producing food and manufacturing food. So I'm a farmer and I've grown apples, let's say. But the order was canceled. So what happens to the apples? Or I've got a field and so you have to grow more. Like you just have to, just based on weather or pests. But then there might not be like we have an issue in Canada with migrant workers, right? Like we don't have enough. We don't have, and Canadians don't want to go to the farm and pick the food. So the food just lays in the field. And that's really no fault of anybody. If you don't have the labor to pick the food because you don't have a place to sell it anyway, then why would you spend the money on picking the food? So that, but also in manufacturing, like there's little simple things that happen in manufacturing that are so unnecessary. I'll give you one example, and it was Campbell's soup. So Campbell's soup, that they had an auditor go in, like a food waste auditor, to try to figure out, could they save money? Because there's a huge economic advantage to not having waste.
Yeah.
And one example at Campbell's soup was there's a conveyor belt and it's for vegetable soup. And so on it goes whatever vegetables. And then the next line, after that vegetable soup is done, on that conveyor belt might just be potatoes. And what happens is there's a carrot that goes in, like, because they're in the system and they fall in, and so they throw them away. When all you actually had to do was put it separate.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so they're saving, I think it was around $250,000 a year per space that they were doing it, I guess. So it's significant. And it's simple.
It's a lot. But I saw, I don't know if you know about that, you can tell me. I work at the retail. And we never sell any products with best before it's gone, right? Yeah. It's by law. Do you know? If I sell, I have my retail here. I have some products that's best before date. It's already done. If I sell these products by law of Canada, it's allowed or not allowed?
I think that's a corporate policy you have.
It's corporate policy. Okay.
Yeah. So I have not read a law that says you can't sell food. Now, to be fair,
because I imagine you buy something, some customers go to the big retail, right? Yeah. Bought something that's with the best before it's gone. Something happened not related with food, but they are gonna think, my problem is because I ate something.
Of course, that expired. Absolutely.
I think that's because the big retails just make sure that you don't sell anything. And the quantity that goes to garbage,
they likely won't buy it, to be honest, right? Like, why would you buy something? Like, you'd have to have a pretty deep discount. And even still, our brains are trained
exactly
a different way. So I would buy it. You might buy it, but I'm not sure most people would.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I already bought that. Sometimes I tell there's chocolate. I saw some chocolate best before it expired. I bought it for me. Sure. And I never see any problem with chocolate.
Yeah.
And with expired dates.
But I think that's
best before dates.
Yeah, best before. I had my mind always expired. We always say expired, right?
I know. Again, that's just an education.
We always say expired.
Is that I want to say, because the general people, when come to the supermarket, see two different expiry dates and the best before, and they have many confusing for the people.
For people, expired is expired. Best before it means expired.
Yeah, exactly.
For many of the people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. They think
when
it
you
means
see best before, this is expired.
And there's some kind of safety issue behind it, is what most people think. When in fact, there's not. Like when I go grocery shopping,
I think this is oh my goodness, proposital.
On the purpose.
Yeah.
For what?
For the general peoples, look the best before and confuse it for expiry date. And okay, I don't buy this, I buy another one. And the manufacturer produce more. Exactly. I don't know, but it's very confusing for general peoples.
Yeah, now I know that's it's a big the people that don't understand it, they just think. I think that the media just always say that don't consume anything with expired date. I'm gonna say because they never said best before.
Yeah.
I agree. There's
Right?
so much
They
like
never-
misuse of the language.
They never say it like that. And what I saw, it's a lot of waste, a lot of garbage just because of this.
Yep.
This is the biggest issue. And when this best before is done, you guys, the second harvest, they collected this foods, right?
Oh, we collect foods long before there's a best before date. Either. Like
Yeah.
some of them have like 2 weeks before the best before. Some of them have a year before the best before. So there's other reasons. There are foods that we will collect that are obviously past their best before dates. But because of the perception of people, and we support charities, you have to be very careful about where you give that food. So
I know, yeah.
you give it to a kitchen that's cooking because they understand that it's a best before date that's passed and it's not going into your home. Because if it's in your home, then people, if they don't know enough, then they feel disrespected because you shouldn't give people that are low income
But you
food
know,
that they think is not.
something that I just remember a couple months ago, I think I'm not remember exact the date. I have some food at home with best before. It's past a week.
Yep.
A week.
Fine.
So what I did is I said I'm not. That's something that I didn't like actually, that I don't eat. That's why it was at the home and it was with best before gone. I took those foods for the food bank for the city. They don't accept it.
Yeah.
They said no, it's expired. That is expired. I cannot accept it.
And that's why it's because
see, even food bank, I'm pretty sure that they have a lot of issues now, even because the pandemic now, they are very low with food and they are always asking for more donation, for people's donation, but they don't accept any foods with best before.
Yeah, but the reason is it's because they typically, a food bank gives shelf stable food that is typically a hamper. So it's going to a family that's low income. And so the family is saying, I don't want food that is expired because they don't know any better. And, and you can educate all you want, but it's, you want to give people dignity when you're giving them food. And so that's why it's really actually, when you're giving a hamper, I would typically not put an item past the best before date, only because not enough people understand that it doesn't actually mean anything. So we need to have a huge education on it first, and then we need to get rid of them, to be honest. I mean, it's a fairly new phenomenon. We didn't used to have best before dates. It came around in the 1970s. So
I remember when I was young, some foods never had the expiry date best before.
No.
We never seen the packaging. We just bought it.
Exactly. Yep.
Right? I remember that. It's after that they start, now we're going to add the expiry date best before.
Yep.
Whatever. Yeah, it's true. Do you have the numbers of people that are hungry in Canada? It's higher,
significant. What I read yesterday, the latest research is it's 1 in 5 are food insecure or are missing meals because they don't have enough. So when we think about how tough it was during COVID, right? Like, so a lot of people lost their jobs, gig work stopped.
The price is rising for the food.
The prices were rising, but we haven't seen anything yet, right? Like prices for food have risen 9.7%. That's the highest ever in like 20 years. That's crazy. So even if you have money, you're feeling the pinch. But if you don't have money, then what are you going to do?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we saw, right, so many people's, some of guys complained that they, before this pandemic, they bought up more, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if we think that we bought more, do you think that overbuying is one of the problems for the waste? Right? Because even when you see that the prices rise a little bit, people are buying less. So technically, it's less waste.
Agreed. I agree. And there's something called what is it called? Shrinkflation. So even what you're buying now is coming in a smaller package or there's smaller amounts of food inside of it, which I would have argued like that's a good thing because, we also have an obesity epidemic in the West. And that's because our portions were way out of control. Like nobody understands what portions should be anymore because we aren't provided portions. Our dinner plates are this big. They used to be this big.
Yeah.
So, but when you're hungry and you need that food, then it hurts. Like there's a double-edged sword kind of here with this shrinkflation, food inflation. Yeah, maybe less waste at the home. Maybe. Nothing proves it yet.
I don't know if you read or not, but I read this, I think 1 week ago that 1 in 5 people in Canada go to Hungary at least one. Oh, I have it here. Just 1 in 5 Canadians reported going hungry at least once between March 2020 and March 2022.
Yeah.
So I think if have the pandemic and the Russia and the Ukrainian war is worsening.
Oh yes,
That's impacted a lot.
Huge.
Right?
The war. We have huge supply chain issues. We don't have the stock. We have protectionism happening across the globe, where some countries and more will come that are no longer exporting certain things that we count on.
Yeah.
In America, it's Buy American now. And they're very hard about Buy American, where we used to have really great trade. So we have to start thinking about global food systems and local food systems because the globalization is good. It keeps food cheap. But once the borders close,
exactly.
What's going to happen?
And in Canada, they growing their own food. How do you see the Canada doing their?
We do grow our own food, but not enough. We export a lot. We have a lot of cash crops as well, which, is not food that we eat. And what we don't do is manufacture.
Yeah.
Or process. And so I think we were down to our last processing plant in Ontario, which is so wrong. So we need to invest in infrastructure that allows us to process food.
I think it's a big concern now because we have so many food prices now, and it's a domino effect because we have the food waste, climate change, war, and so lots of problems now. And it's a very concerning here in Canada now.
Everywhere, though.
Yeah.
Globally, it's very concerning everywhere. And we think that we are above these kind of problems when we're not. Like we're sitting inside the middle of it. And we haven't seen anything yet. The recession is coming. Food prices are not going to go down. Supply chain has not corrected itself.
For sure.
The war has not corrected itself. Like it's just going to get way worse before it gets better.
But what's the way now for avoid any food waste? I saw here, just because I saw that in the screen, 53% of the food that's doing in Canada. 58, actually. Yes, food produced for Canadians, that is wasted.
Yeah.
Why it's all?
I'm
gonna ask again. I think because I can understand if people's hungry, if foods the price are high, right? Some people cannot afford to buy all the foods that they really needed. Why more than a half?
Because they're not connected, right? Like so, food waste happens because we have systems in place that allow it to happen. We've created a whole waste structures, and as long as business is meeting their margins, they're not really looking at it. Now, I will say that it's getting a lot better. Like, for example, like the Food Rescue app is at a bunch of retail and food service. So they are trying to move it at the kind of the end of cycle, but there's a lot more work to do at the start of cycle. And so, we need to build in some innovation. And when we're watching some cool things happen, right? Like we're upcycling some stuff, some food and making different products, but it's not close to being enough of what needs to happen. So it happens for a myriad of reasons, honestly. Like you're fishing in Atlantic, like not fishing us, but fisheries, and they're throwing a whole bunch of fish back.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Right? They catch the wrong fish, the rest goes back, it's dead. So lots of crops, lots of processing deficiencies. Most of Canada is made up of small and mid-sized businesses. So we're not even talking about the global ones, the big ones, which are a lot, But if you don't have a good infrastructure and you don't have someone supporting what it takes to reduce that waste, because you'd have to, you need labor. Somebody has to manage it. Someone has to monitor it. You have to have a system in place. But there's no money. You're just scraping by. Then is that on your priority list? No, it's really not. Your margins are your priority. It's always your margins. So unless the government of Canada can provide those kind of supports, or ESG funding and venture capitalists decide to provide those kind of supports, how can you even do it?
So if we say that even the government need to give all those support, right?
Yes, what they need to do is mandate measurement, mandate monitoring, set targets to align with the UN goals, and then provide the supports that different businesses need. Not forever, because often it's a capital expense, like it's a one and done, or it's a labor expense that, what they'll realize after a couple of years is they're actually making more money because they're wasting less. So then they can pay for that measuring person.
But some companies, they make more money if they are not happy with the waste. But the more you buy, the cheaper you get for the big companies, right? If you have a distribution center, right? The more you buy for this distribution center, the cheaper is. You get more better price.
Sure, but it's cyclical. Like, it's not just one spot, right? Like, it's a whole food system cycle that's broken. So they will buy way too much because the consumer wants to look at retail shelves. They want to see strawberries in January in Canada. They want to see apples up to here. Like, there's actual research that shows if you have one head of lettuce on, at the retail, nobody will buy it. They want to see 30 heads of lettuce. So part of this is just, again, changing our brains. Where I look at one head of lettuce, I think, oh man, that must be good lettuce, and I'll take it. But our brains are not wired that way, so we have to rewire our brains.
Yeah. What happened? We are talking when these foods goes to the landfill, goes to the waste. What's the big issue with the environment, with all those foods, they contaminate the rivers, the sea? What happened? And do you have the numbers? How many foods go to the...
They do leach. I don't have the numbers, but most of our food actually goes into landfills, so you can probably say 90%.
Because when you see that we have the food collector, every neighbor has, right? The green bin that we put all the foods. Even so, it's not all the food that's produced that goes to maybe it's compostable, right?
Well, in Toronto, what we do, and it's two things. One is Toronto picks up household waste, but they don't do business waste. So you might have great things happening with one stream of waste, and we actually do. In Toronto, we turn that into biofuel. It never goes into landfill, and biofuel is used to run the garbage trucks in Toronto, or they're adapting them to run the garbage trucks and their fleet. Fantastic. Great way of managing it.
Yeah.
But the businesses are just using whatever company that they're paying for, and there's no guarantee that that's going anywhere good.
You're right? Exactly.
So, and when it goes into landfill, it just, there's no oxygen. And so it sits there, like a head of lettuce takes 25 years to decompose. One head of lettuce is crazy. And it creates methane gas. And methane gas is about 25 to 28% hotter than your average GHG. And it is a direct contributor to the climate crisis. And what's terrifying is Canada is experiencing climate change at a faster rate than any other region in the world. And so even though we're a big landmass with a small population, like, we have to be leaders here. Like, even if all the climate change isn't a result of Canada, we're the ones that are going to get impacted in a number of ways. So we should be leaders.
Yeah, and it's a big number for the produce for the Canada it's doing, right? For this that goes to the landfill.
Oh yeah, it would be huge. It's tipping fees are cheap. It's really cheap to get a garbage man. And also the challenges across the country is that we live in an urban center. So we have household waste that is picked up, something cool happens. But most of Canada doesn't have that. Most places don't have composting either. Their organic waste goes in their garbage, and a garbage bag goes in a landfill.
So far that I always think that's a good idea that they pick up all the green bin at the houses, right? I think that's fantastic what they are doing, but it's really nothing.
Oh, it's not nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two things. One,
It's not, because if you said that some houses they don't have, right? Some neighbors, they don't have this kind of collector, and the business, they don't collect it.
well, the houses that don't have the collector, they're just throwing it into landfill.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's good that we have it because we're upcycling it into biofuel. So that's good. But I don't love green bins only because you think at home, well, there's a green bin here, so I can just throw all of this
Just
stuff
throw it out.
away. Where you should be thinking, how do I prevent this? Even in the house, right? Like our own wallets, could take a break if you weren't wasting as much food. So even if you measure it, and everyone should measure it at home in a glass jar, you'll be shocked because you don't see it. It's under under your counter or something. And so you don't really see it except for when you pull it out and throw it in your green bin. If you actually saw it, you would be surprised. It's a lot.
What should I, now that you mentioned this point, what should I do with the general peoples for they to get knowledge about the food waste? There is any way that we can teach them, that we can show because what you said is it's true. Because for us, it's convenient that you have the food with the green bin, so I'll just throw it out there. But I don't think in how to avoid all those foods, right? If I buy less, if I just use it properly, I don't know.
Yeah. Or freeze it. All food can be frozen. Throw it in your freezer.
Exactly. And how can we reach those people to bring their knowledge?
Because the biggest problem for general people don't know this.
Right.
If you go
or even they know it's
I
convenient, as she said, right?
But
It's just we have a green bin, it's easy.
No, but think.
I think.
No, because I have many
I'm thinking.
I have many questions here in my mind, but the problem is one example, okay? When COVID-19 coming, I go to a supermarket and I saw many problems there. First, the people don't know, or the people is so greedy that, I buy everything for my family. Oh, I don't care about another family.
For the first month of the COVID.
Oh, the hoarding was horrible.
They just overbuy a lot. Everything that they saw in front, they overbuy. You talk about the soup, the canned soup, the store that I work at, just one guy, they bought my whole, and I came to him and I said, hey, please don't buy everything. Oh, you cannot. They start yell with me because I was trying to avoid, tell him for not buy everything. It was before, because after that, the money of the store, they limit one of 2 for all the customers. Nice. It was a couple weeks before of that. But they started buying.
It's so hard to breaking because we have so many problems in this time, because I saw the food bank in the city is reacting a low the food for low income in the people that is in hunger situation.
Yeah.
And you go to the supermarket, I saw all the time. Now the people is so struggling to buy the basic foods for them, and a lot of people's over buying and put all the waste. So how are you can react with the peoples, the general peoples, and in the time, because my son worked at the big retail here in Canada, and one time he told me that he have the people that buy online a big market, and when the guy will deliver it, the people was there at home, and the shopping come back to the retail, it go to waste.
They said that it happened.
Really?
Yeah.
My son
just because the food it's out of the store, right? They went to delivery when the people was not at home. They bring it back.
Oh, the companies threw it away. Not the person. I'm like, why would they buy it and then throw it away? Okay.
Not the company, because the person was not there to receive the food. And the company, when they received it back, they didn't put it back in the inventory. They just threw away the food.
Everything?
refrigerator.
Okay, that's why. And that's about temperature control and food
No,
safety.
the refrigerator, Davi told me everything is going to waste because Davi asked for the manager if we can get it for the
For the employees
workers,
there.
the employees there,
Right.
or
Sorry.
put the in like clearance, example. And
Yeah, just do something,
do
right?
something that don't go to the waste. And the manager said, no, go to the waste.
Yeah, but that's
So-
as you said, that's the process need to be changed.
Yeah. I mean, I get why cold chain has to, like, when meat is out of the cold chain, then it can go rancid. If you don't know how long it's been out of the cold chain, then you're putting your business at too big a risk for a couple pieces of meat.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. If it's canned soup, then I can't imagine why a business would do that because they're losing money. Like, just
They're
doesn't make
losing
sense to
money.
me. So
Losing money, and my son is told me this is so hard to bring. It's so sad because you see the people need this.
Oh, yeah.
And go to the garbage.
it's wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, we need to
That's what I'm
try
saying.
to find a way, at least, to get knowledge for the peoples, for the general peoples, for buy what you really needed.
Yeah.
Right. It's good for the environment. It's good for your pocket.
Exactly. That's what it's good for your pocket.
I-
Don't go shopping hungry. Don't get 2-for-1 deals. They're never a deal when you throw one away. Like, just buy what you
But
need.
it's hard. And I saw that the retail that I work, I saw people, they go there, they got a shopping cart and they walk aisle by aisle. It means we see that they don't know what they're going to buy.
But yeah.
And they just bought the product that see if it's on sale. Oh, let's buy because it's on sale. They don't need it.
Right.
Because I told you, when you go to the groceries, I have in my mind what I needed to buy.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
I have everything. So I bought it in 30 minutes. I did my shopping and go home. That's it. Right? I will waste it. I'm very happy if you go to our home. It's our green bean. It's almost
Very
nothing.
Nice.
Because
Good.
all the
It's
time
almost nothing, but
make
because of this.
I make
I
a
told you,
list.
it's good sometimes that we don't have so much money to buy. Right?
No.
So true.
No,
So
because also I make the list and okay, I plan my week and okay, I need to buy this because each this during this week. If I need something extra, I go there and I pick up. That's it. But the people go there and okay, I buy this, and don't eat.
They don't need it.
So I think that's it. Just Laurie, just for us to finish here, tell for the peoples, just if they have a small business or even a big business that they have some foods there that Second Harvest can go there and pick it up. How can he do it? What they do it?
The best way to do it is go to the Second Harvest website. We have the Second Harvest app and download the app. If you have skids and skids of food, call us or email us and we can send a truck. But it's if for small yields of food, use the app because that app connects you directly with the local charity, which is way better.
Okay, cool. So for peoples, just make sure best before does not means expired.
Or
right?
bad after.
Yeah. And if you have any waste, not waste, but food that is not usable, that you think that your store is not using, just call Second Harvest. They can give up the right destination for these foods, right?
That's right. Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Laurie, thank you very much for being here with us today. It was
fun.
really, really nice conversation. I hope the people just learn a little bit. A little bit.
And it sticks.
Yeah, just
And it sticks.
Exactly.
That's enough. That's our goals here. If you want people, sometimes the people said, how are you going to change everybody? No, if you want people change, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I beat my goal. So every episode, one people, I'm good. I'm happy with this.
Awesome.
Okay, Laurie, thank you so much.
You so much.
Nice to meet you both.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for watching this episode. Keep touch and for the next episode for Green Vibes Podcast. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. You guys are great.